Alright, let me just... Now we're making a video about D&D. Hello my precious everyone, welcome back to Wow Mau. Today I'm making another Dungeons & Dragons tips video about how to be a better player. The fact that I'm wearing fake glasses even though I have real glasses probably makes me an abomination to the glasses community. It matches my outfit. Also, wow, it's so reflective. Thanks. I hate it. Quick disclaimer, not D&D related, but actually my guinea pig's kind of running around at my feet right now because she needed to do some zoomies. So if you hear vague squeaking sounds, that's the little potato. That's to keep her from going deeper into my house. I know it looks like I live in a cave. I don't. I should probably start talking about D&D things. I know we all like to think we are the best players we can be, but there always is room for improvement. I am both a player and a DM, so I hope my insight will be useful, but remember that every group, every table, every dynamic is different. So my advice might not necessarily apply, though I dare say a majority of it probably will. Oh my god, I forgot my mic again. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Number one is to take notes. Now, this might seem like a basic piece of advice, but that's because it's really important. No one's telling you have to have a whole play-by-play of the session, and honestly, taking notes like too intensely and writing down every little thing can actually kind of break immersion. But it really helps when players keep track of some things. For starters, it shows you care, and for another, writing down names and places can help your DM stay on track too. The best part is, taking notes means you're paying attention, and it also means you can avoid the dreaded question of,
wait, what's going on?
My second tip is to ease the burden out of game. Your DM already has plenty of things to keep track of in-game, and piling on out-of-game responsibilities can be overwhelming. So ease the burden where you can. You can offer to host the session at your house, provide dinner, snacks, or whatever sort of meal you might need, and you can keep track of scheduling. Just doing these things might seem minor, but it can help take pressure off your DM. My third tip is to show respect. This might seem obvious, but I think it's something easy to forget if your DM and the rest of your group, if they're family, close friends, whatever it may be. Even if they're a person that you're used to joking and playing around with. No matter if someone's a stranger or someone very close to you, you should always show them respect. In terms of the game, it means things like when you're showing respect to your DM. You show up on time because they spent a lot of time preparing the session for you. You pay attention and you're not goofing around on your phone the whole time. If your DM makes a call on the rules and you disagree, state your point, but recognize that they are the DM, and if they make the call, don't keep pushing it further. In terms of interacting with your party, it means respecting the boundaries they've set. I highly encourage everybody to do a session 0 to figure out boundaries and the sorts of things you like to have in your games and the things you don't. So if somebody's getting uncomfortable by something, don't keep pursuing that train of thought or like the scene or whatever's going on. Just drop it. It also means, not talking over some of the other PCs. Trust me, your whole group will appreciate it and they will show you respect in turn. Tip 4 is to get immersed in the story and the world. One of the easiest ways to make D&D more enjoyable for you and your whole table is to let go of your insecurities and your hesitations and just throw yourself into the story and the world and the scenes. Feel the emotions of your character and get lost in the lore of the land. The more you invest yourself in the story and your character and the stakes, the more you roleplay, the more fun it will be for everyone. It is true that D&D requires an element of being vulnerable, because if everyone's sitting at the table and someone's like,
"Hey, this is weird,"
it will make everyone feel insecure about themselves and sort of hide within themselves. But if you put yourself out there and really throw yourself into it, a lot of the more shy people will do it too, and it will just create a much better group dynamic and everything will be more fun. Feeding off each other's energy is totally a thing, so don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It might really improve how things are going for your campaign. My fifth tip is to know and flesh out your character. Let's be honest, it'll be hard to fully invest yourself in the story if you don't really know who you are. Fleshing out and knowing your character will help you make decisions that seem consistent with who they are and make sense in game. Besides, you'll feel a lot more encouraged to roleplay and put yourself out there and initiate scenes if you know who you are and what you're about and what your character would actually do. But if fleshing out a character isn't your strong suit, don't worry. It's good to have a baseline for who you are, but you will discover more about your character the more you play. It just kind of happens naturally. Number 6 is to help involve other players. Speaking of other players, sometimes it's honestly kind of easy to forget about them when you're busy thinking about yourself and what your character would do to react to a situation. But especially if you have PCs in your party who are a bit more quiet or shy, it can be helpful instead of just running up to every NPC yourself, saying something along the lines of,
Hey Wizard, I know you've read a lot of books. Maybe you can talk to this librarian for us?
or maybe if your group is making some sort of plan and someone hasn't spoken up yet, ask them for their opinion. Not only will it be a bit of a relief for players who have a bit more of a difficult time speaking up, but it can open the door to a lot of role-playing within the party, and that often creates some of the best moments. Tip number 7. Know your abilities. You don't have to know every spell or the PHB cover to cover, but it's a lot easier to play your character and make decisions when you actually know what you're capable of. How can you strategize if you don't know all the options? It also helps the DM so they don't have to add learning your abilities on top of everything else. Tip number 8, be ready on your turn in battle. This will become much easier if you know your abilities, but make sure you're not thinking about what you're going to do for your turn on your turn. Obviously, the circumstances of battle will change depending on other people's actions, but having a plan for what you want to do on your turn, or even a potential backup plan if things go awry, can speed up battle immensely. If your group doesn't do this already, consider having whoever's keeping track of initiative call out not only the person whose turn it is, but also who's on deck. This way, you can be sure you're ready when it's your turn to fight. Tip number 9, have some sort of plan for next session. This is a little more specific than the other tips, but it's a lifesaver for DMs, or at least for me. Obviously, a lot of D&D involves with going with the flow, but having a bit of a plan for what you want to do next session will help your DM know what to prepare for. Especially if there are like multiple options, multiple stories, and plot hooks going on at once. Stating what you're interested in pursuing next session will help your DM make sure they're prepared for that, instead of just planning a little bit of everything, winding up not using a bunch of stuff, and maybe not even being ready for whatever it is you want to pursue. Tip number 10 is to tell your DM and your party that you appreciate them. It might seem cheesy or awkward, but trust me, this is an amazing feeling for everybody, even you who is hopefully being the one giving the compliment. If you've ever heard that DMs are always stressed or always worried that they're doing a bad job, that's true. It definitely feels good to hear that they're doing a good job and you appreciate all the time, effort, and even sometimes money that they're putting into the campaign. As for your players, sometimes they need a pat on the back too. If someone had a really awesome roleplay moment, you should totally tell them. If someone did something cool in battle, tell them. If the description of their killing blow knocked your socks off, be sure to let them know. Taking the time to show your party and your DM that you appreciate them will not only improve your relationships in-game, as everyone will probably be a little more encouraged to go outside their comfort zone if you reward them for doing so, but also it will strengthen your relationships out of game. So there it is. There's my 10 easy tips, hopefully easy, my 10 tips on how to be a better player. You want to take notes, ease the burden out of game, show respect, get immersed in the story and world, know and flesh out your character, help involve other players, know your abilities, be ready on your turn in battle, have some sort of plan for next session, and tell your DM and party that you appreciate them. I know some of these were sort of like bare bones tips, like flesh out your character. So if you're interested in me giving specific tips on how to actually flesh out your character, or more ways to take initiative and be involved in the story in your campaign, let me know if you want a video for those sorts of things, as I'm always open to giving a little bit more in-depth advice if you want it. Let me know if the glasses were doing it for you. I honestly think they look super cute, but I keep getting distracted by the reflection and I don't know if I can handle it anymore. That being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a beautiful day, my precious everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! One of the easiest ways to make D&D more enjoyable for you and your